Hey, this is Steve Gunner, and this is Emotionally Intelligent Living Straight Talk with Steve. Um, I want to focus today on uncertainty, which is an emotion. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. They look at circumstances, they look at a variety of things in their life that really are emotions or emotional drivers, and they kind of look at that and say, well, it's not really an emotion. It's not really something I can control. But the reality is we can. Now, here's what you can't control. The way our brains work, your brain processes emotionally first, then it processes rationally. So what does that mean? It means that something happens and we have an emotion. Okay, and let's stick with uncertainty, because mastering uncertainty with EQ, or emotional intelligence, is what our focus is today. If we think about that emotion, something happens, it makes us uncertain. Then what happens after that? Well, uncertainty is an activating emotion. It is generated when something happens that, of course, we're uncertain about, that there is questions about. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? What might happen? All of that kind of thing. But uncertainty is also an instigating emotion, meaning it can then generate other emotions. Fear is a big one that uncertainty can lead to. Fear, frustration, anger, a variety of different emotions can be generated when we're uncertain about something. And a lot of times, that uncertainty that opens the door to other emotional drivers like fear, frustration, anger, judgment, whatever it happens to be, that can lead us to make decisions or take actions that we might regret later. So today I want to focus on how do we master uncertainty. But I want to kind of deconstruct this whole concept of what uncertainty is. Take the circumstances out of the equation. We can't control the circumstances that are around this thing that's causing us uncertainty, whatever it happens to be. What we can do is we can manage our response. And we can also manage what's going on up here. The initial emotion is only going to have a high level of intensity for about 6 to 10 seconds. Then the intensity diminishes unless we revisit what triggered it in the first place. And then we're getting into a cycle of re-triggering that emotion. And so again, sticking with uncertainty, and we all have uncertainty in our lives. So much of our uncertainty is based on projecting ourselves into the future and thinking about what could go wrong, what might happen, what could go wrong. And that just generates more uncertainty. So you're actually creating a cycle that feeds itself. If we can step back for a minute and just start with, okay, what are emotional intelligence skills that I could use to better navigate uncertainty and then manage that uncertainty in my life? I can't really change the future. I don't even know what the future is going to bring, to be honest about it. I can't really change some of the circumstances. What I can change is how I respond to it. And I can change my mindset. I can create a mindset shift that allows me to better work through whatever that uncertainty is. And part of that is coming back to those emotional intelligence skills. The very first one I want to focus on is emotional literacy. Now, I'm using the definitions and the skills that come out of 6 Seconds, the largest emotional intelligence community in the world. And I've been with them and used a lot of their assessments for years and years. And I really like their tools. I like the information because it's not so robust that you just can't wrap your brain around it. I mean, it's very simple. There are 8 competencies or skills of emotional intelligence based around 3 major domains: self-awareness, self-management, self-direction, or self-leadership. Now, I tend to use the 5 category model a lot. And I know this is getting into some of the details of all of this, but I think it's important. If you want skills that are going to help you navigate uncertainty, navigate other strong emotions that come your way, I want to make sure you have a foundation for knowing kind of what that is. Many of you probably already do, but I tend to use the 5 category model: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. I think that gives a little broader perspective. But I always go back to the individual skills that 6 Seconds has put forward. So let's talk about those. The first one is emotional literacy. What is that? Can I identify the emotion I'm having? Can I define it? Can I understand how it impacts me? Can I understand what it means and what other emotions might be tied to that emotion? So, like I said, with uncertainty, that could turn to fear, frustration, apprehension, anxiety, stress. I mean, you name it. There's lots of different emotions that could be tied to uncertainty. So, the first skill to put into play is let's figure out what it is. What is the emotion I'm having? So let's say we have identified it as uncertainty. So the next skill I want you to think about is in that self-management area, and that's called navigating emotions. What is that? That is the ability to understand the emotion with emotional literacy and how it impacts you, but then to change or shift how you're looking at that emotion. Let's turn it into something that will give us a better strategic outcome. What does that mean? Well, in a real simple sense, don't just knee-jerk react to whatever the emotion is. Give it a little time, think it through, and then respond. So instead of allowing the emotion to drive us, we are in turn taking the energy and information of that emotion and we're putting it into a better place. We're taking that energy and using it for a better outcome. Now, the third thing I want you to think about, the third skill, is apply consequential thinking. What's that? It's running what if scenarios in your head. So instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm uncertain about this, so I'm locked into this kind of approach. No, you're not. There are options for you to move in different directions if you want to, but you have to give yourself time to think about what those options are. Okay, wait a minute. If I go this way, this is the likely outcome. If I go this way, this is the likely outcome. If I go this way, this is the likely outcome. Well, that helps you navigate your emotions because you're taking more time to think it through instead of just saying, oh man, I got to do something. I can't stand this feeling of uncertainty and I got to turn this around. I don't know what I'm going to do. That is a reactive and frankly, a kind of a fixed or shut down mindset. Let's open it up with applying consequential thinking. Let's look at the options and the alternatives out there. And maybe some of those aren't that great, but you're going to find something that's going to help you. Let me talk about another one here, which is intrinsic motivation. Let's actually start using our intrinsic motivation to get out of a negative or non-productive cycle of emotions that uncertainty could ignite in us. And so what is that? Well, intrinsic motivation, when we think about engaging our intrinsic motivation, what we're doing is we're pulling from our deepest held beliefs, values, and the way we look at, the standards in our life. What are the standards we hold our decisions up to? That gives us the energy to navigate the emotions, apply consequential thinking, and then move forward so that we can master uncertainty. It isn't changing the circumstances. Now, you may be able to change some of those circumstances by the way you respond, by what you choose to do. But let's give ourselves time to make our very best choices, our very best decisions. And to do that, we've got to pull from our internal resources of energy, because something externally has created this uncertainty, which automatically is going to lower our motivation or our energy from external sources. Does that make sense? So we've got to find a source of energy we can count on. That comes from our intrinsic motivation. Then the next skill that we can put into play is we can put into play exercising optimism. We can look at the future with hope and possibility instead of dreading the future or worrying about the future. I've gone through several of the different skills of emotional intelligence to help you consider how you can master uncertainty. And as we think about mastering uncertainty, it doesn't mean that you're going to get everything you want. It doesn't mean that all your outcomes are going to be wonderful and glorious and awesome and all of that. But it does mean that you're going to operate at a level that is more beneficial to you, more beneficial to your well-being, to your focus, to your energy, to the way you spend your time and your effort, because you're not being derailed, what we call the amygdala hijack, when you have one of these strong emotions that comes at you. And uncertainty is really nefarious if you think about it, because it just erodes. It erodes confidence. It erodes trust. It erodes relationships. It erodes so many different things. It's kind of like a disease or a rust that just erodes things. That doesn't have to be the way it is. We can figure out ways to use those emotional intelligence skills to better navigate our emotions, like uncertainty, so that we can get better outcomes. And that comes back to here, our mindset. If we grow those skills in ourselves, I've got an online course called Emotional Intelligence for Life and Work. It's a basic course, very robust in a lot of different ways. I've priced extremely low. It's on our website, EQFIT.org. I'm not here to sell the course today, but if you want a nice foundation for how to use this stuff in a variety of different situations in life, that's a great place to maybe start. But I want you to be equipped. I mean, my goal in life, my 2-word purpose is equip people. And that EQ is capitalized in equip. That's through emotional intelligence. And yes, I do work in habit transformation and higher rational thinking skills and specific skill development. I do a lot of different things to create that mindset that can be successful for you. But the beauty of what I'm talking about is you are one of one. You are unique. There's nobody else like you. There never will be. There never has been. As much as we like to think, oh, I'm sure I'm just, like people that come before me in the past. Well, in some ways you are, but you are uniquely gifted. You are uniquely created. You have unique talents, experience, cultural upbringing, knowledge, learning. You are a unique person that can make a real difference in the world if you choose to. And that's where I want to kind of close this up today. Why do I talk about these emotional intelligence skills? Because I want to see people shine. I want to see them not a victim of life or the world, but somebody who can shine. Let your light shine in the world. The way we do that is we learn to lead ourselves well first. Then we can lead others through whatever influence we have. I hope this is helpful today. Uncertainty is something we all deal with. I deal with it just as much as anybody else does. So I hope you have a good day. And until next time, we'll see you soon.